Hey guys, it's me, the Bombay Chef Varun Inamdar, and welcome to Get Curried. Well, India is a land of curries. When I talk about curries, they're possibly one of the most flavorful main course preparations. We have jhols, we have rassas, we have salans, and we have another complete category called kormas. Well, today is one of those many, and this one is a fish korma. Let's begin. Well, kormas are typically from the north of India. If I can kind of get specific about it, it's from the Rampuria Gharana of the north of India. Now, especially in those areas, you get a lot of sweet water fish, but you can get experimental with a lot of varieties of fish. What I'm using today is mackerel, which is of course not a sweet water fish, but I found these little tiny mackerels in the market and I thought they're a wonderful addition in this korma. So I'm using mackerel, but otherwise you can use any sweet water fish cut on the bone like slices, and then the recipe just stays the way it is. I'm going to begin with a generous sprinkling of turmeric powder. Now turmeric, of course, because the whole culture in that side of the belt is about taking the fish, marinating it and kind of pan frying it till it's kind of half to 3/4 cooked, and then you kind of reserve it till the korma is cooked or till the gravy is cooked, and eventually you slide in the cooked or the fried fish in the gravy. A wonderful technique. My mouth is already watering because I kind of know what the end product is going to taste and look like. A little bit of salt in the fish, of course. Going ahead with paste of garlic. Generally, you also kind of add in a little bit of ginger paste, but I'm keeping it relatively neutral. Let's add in a fresh squish of lemon juice. Ensure that the seeds are kind of picked up because, like I always say, you don't want surprises in your mouth. Well, this is possibly one of the only ingredients in the entire recipe which is going to add in that layer of sourness. Of course, we have tomatoes later, but this in a way is right there, acidic. Let's rub this on both sides of the fish. And you can just keep this aside for 5 minutes or move on directly. It's important to ensure that the fish is well cleaned, it's gutted, it's again washed using water. You again need to clean all of this insides. The gashes and the gut both need to be rubbed like so with the marination, and with this the fish is marinated and ready. Let's move on to the next step, and that is heating oil in a wok or a kadai or the cooking vessel or the cooking apparatus, and then we fry this. When I say fry, just kind of half pan frying. The fish is marinated well and my hands are also washed. Let's move on straight to cooking the fish now, rather pan frying the fish, for which I'm going to use a little bit of oil. Well, when I say a little bit, it's absolutely fine even if you take a little more of the oil, because I'm going to use the same pan to make the korma gravy. Once the bottom of the pan kind of begins to sizzle, we'd slide in the pieces of marinated fish. The idea here is to just get a golden brown film on the outside of the fish and not cook this. Once you kind of achieve that, that's more than perfect. The fish is pan seared and, like I said, 50% to 3/4 done. Let's transfer this in another plate. Do not use the same plate as that of the marination to avoid cross-contamination in food. Let's scrape in the little bits of fish along with the residual oil and let this also rest for a while. Now in the same pan, I'm going to take some more oil and pan fry some ingredients for the korma gravy. Let's begin with sliced red onions. Well, they're absolutely roughly cut. So do not worry about the cuts and things like that, especially for something like this, because it's eventually going to get ground into nice fine and smooth paste. Once the onions kind of turn translucent, I'm going to add in bits of dried coconut, and along with this, melon seeds, also known as char magads or magads. Well, you may be wondering what these seeds are or what these melon seeds are. These are nothing but peeled watermelon seeds. Well, you could also add in some cashew nuts or almonds to increase the kind of richness, but to me, this is just perfect. Let's stir this well and ensure that the raw flavor of the coconut and the melon seeds goes away. Once that is done, we'll grind all of this. Once that is achieved, just before the flame goes off, I'm going to add in whole untoasted coriander seeds. Let's stir this well. Toast this precisely for 30 to 40 seconds on high flame. And with this, of course, the flame. Let's transfer all of this in the blending jar. Well, I know this is hot, but the other ingredients that I'm going to use will kind of cool this down. So that's also one of the techniques in kind of grinding it while it's still hot. Again, kitchen accidents, very important. Ensure you are not part of one of those. What you can do is, instead of adding water, you can also add in some cubes of ice. That immediately kind of drops the temperature and it makes the grinding nice, fine and smooth. Let's head there. But before that, I'm going to add in a few more ingredients. Like I said, beginning with roughly cut tomatoes. These are ripe red tomatoes. Coriander leaves. Of course, there are coriander seeds in the recipe, but coriander leaves would also add in that wonderful dose of freshness. I'm just keeping a little aside for the final garnishing bit. And finally to this, red chili powder. Now this is a combination of chili that gives you spice as well as color. Let's add in cubes of ice. Like I said, very important because the entire mixture is hot. Let's cover this and grind this into fine and smooth paste. Well, it's nice and fine and smooth as desired. Let's now quickly move on to frying this. Let's heat the same pan, and into this I'm going to add in oil. Once the oil heats up, you'll start adding in some ingredients, beginning with cumin seeds. Once they kind of begin to crackle, I'm going to add in some whole spices. In this case, cloves, green cardamom and a stick of cinnamon. Once the oil becomes nice and fragrant, I'm going to lower the flame and add in roughly sliced red onions. Allow these to just kind of begin to turn translucent in color. Once that happens, I'm going to add in the spice mix or the korma gravy that has just been made. Well, now what's the difference between a curry and a gravy? A gravy is generally thicker and is eaten with naan, rotis or parathas or pulkas. A curry is generally thinner and in most cases eaten either with pav or with rice. Remember this. It's been around 30-40 seconds, medium-high flame. The onions are just kind of beginning to wilt. This is the time when I'm going to add in this spice mix. Scrape in all of this wonderful goodness from the jar, of course, because that's where the essence of this curry or the korma lies. Let's add in some salt, followed by hot water. Hot water again is very important in a recipe like this because it immediately kind of brings the whole layer of oil right on top. And allow this to cook on high flame for 7 to 8 minutes. Once the oil starts releasing the sides of the pan, you now start releasing the pieces of fish. Finally, I'm also adding in some green chilies. With this, we place the lid and allow this to cook precisely for 5 to 7 minutes or till the fish is perfectly cooked for the most amazing fish korma. It's been 7 minutes. With this, off goes the flame, and let's quickly start plating this. Well, I'm deliberately using a flat plate for something like this because that way the pieces of fish just remain intact. Let's gently now start placing the pieces of fish, of course, needless to say, without breaking them. And finally, some garnish, which is actually not required, but I think it just makes it look nice and colorful. Some slices of tomatoes, along with some green chilies and a little bit of lime. With this, our fish korma is done and ready. Simple, stunning, and a complete family meal. Make this for family and impress them. Bye for now.